with Sam Seder, where every day's casual Friday. That means Monday is casual Monday, Tuesday, casual Tuesday, Wednesday, casual hump day, Thursday, casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, July 16th, 2021. My name is Sam Seder. This is the five-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, the executive editor of the American Prospect, David Dayen, to look back on this week that was, on this casual Friday. Also on the program, Schumer looks to jam the Republicans on their bipartisan infrastructure deal. Manchin says no to filibuster exception for voting rights because Joe Manchin also apparently very disturbed by the infrastructure climate action. Also, coincidentally, made hundreds of thousands of dollars last year on selling coal. Meanwhile, families start receiving Biden bucks. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says, let's make it permanent. Andrew Cuomo to be questioned in a sexual harassment investigation this weekend. LA County reinstates its indoor mask mandate in light of the COVID Delta resurgence. New report, U.S. undercounts extreme heat work injuries. Lastly, Senate Dems plot a way to do immigration reform in that reconciliation bill. All this and more on today's program. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being here. Joining me, as always, on this casual Friday, Emma Vigeland. Hello, Emma.
Hello, Sam. How are you?
Great. Well, you're very sing-songy today.
I try to switch it up, but just,
Switch it up between being sing-songy and not being sing-songy.
Yeah, or being ornery with you. Do you want me to go down that road?
No.
I could do it.
All right. No, I've heard that tone before. Believe me. No, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. The week just flew by. And we've got plenty to talk about. This infrastructure bill is heating up. And we're going to talk to David Dayen about that, as well as the executive order that Biden signed. I guess it was on Monday. Certainly announced it, I think, at the end of last week. I think it was signed on Monday. That has a whole host of antitrust, anti-monopoly, anti-competitive measures that we will be discussing more as the weeks go on. But David Dayen certainly very much on top of this anti-monopoly stuff, and has written on it as well. And we will talk about that with him. In the meantime, here is Sherrod Brown. He is speaking on the Senate floor. Remember now, in the recovery bill, the $1.9 trillion, was it? The $1.5 trillion? $9 trillion COVID relief bill, there was a provision to provide American families with, I think, the threshold, couples making less than $150,000. And I think it actually tapers off as you get even higher incomes, if I understand. But up to $300 per child for each child you have in your household. That's at $150,000. And then I think the numbers actually continue to sort of like phase out for the next 50,000, or maybe in terms of a couple, could be up as far as $250,000.
I mean, that's per month.
And $300 per month. Right. And this is a big change in the way that we are giving like these type of tax credits. Tax credits, but they're payments is what they are, really.
And they have to be branded as tax credits because, Democrats can make it easy for themselves.
Right. Although, people are starting to call them Biden bucks, I guess. And we'll see how that flies. And the innovation here, in addition to the idea that they're going to give this without, significant means testing and without any type of like qualifications on this, is that it's also being delivered on a monthly basis, which makes it much easier to plan out. Anybody who lives on any type of budget understands this. Makes it much easier to plan out when you're getting those monthly payments. A lot of research on this too, that it provides a lot of flexibility for people living with low income. It literally saves them money because they're able to sort of plan it out and not develop any type of large bills that become overwhelming to pay or get run up with interest. Here is Sherrod Brown speaking on the Senate floor, reminding every Republican on that floor that the money that is being sent to American families right now is being sent despite these people.
The Republican Party, which always votes for tax cuts for the richest people in the country, always on party line votes, always under the very discredited theory that tax cuts, the dollars trickle down to workers and to the middle class and to the rest of the country. They'll always vote for a big tax cut for rich people, but they unanimously opposed, every single one, opposed the child tax credit. Now, this isn't a tax cut for rich people so they can buy another home or another yacht or another vacation place. This is money in the pockets of working class and middle class and struggling people from Maine and Ohio and Texas and Iowa and all over the country. So today people should start checking their bank accounts, looking at their phone, checking their bank accounts, look at their mailbox starting today, Friday, Saturday, Monday. The great majority of American families will see this tax cut. We'll see this $250 or $300 a month. If we care about family values, if we care about our families, give them a little more help, it will make a huge difference in their lives. That's why this is so important. It starts today. It's then next month and the month after for a year. We need to renew this. We need to make sure it's permanent. We do that, it's going to launch a whole generation of kids, give them more opportunity. What's not to love about that?
Not much. I mean, we're going to play some clips from Fox. They've found some things to not love about it. It's going to people who don't have incomes.
So they must not deserve it, huh?
They must not deserve it. It is weird that, and let's talk to, we'll talk to Dayen about this too, this notion of like, you're getting a tax cut in the mail. Wait, what?
Yeah, right.
You're getting a tax cut I'm getting a tax cut in the mail? How about I'm getting money in the mail? There is such an aversion in our politics to the idea that government, first off, let's be clear. The government always redistributes wealth. Always, always, always. The question is, in which way will those distributions flow? That's it. The question is society organized to provide help to those who need it the most or need it somewhat?
The children, though,
the children, but also like, family. I mean, just broadly speaking, who's going to get the benefit of government? And it's either going to be the vast majority of the people who are going to get some benefit from government, or a small group of people who are going to get the majority of the benefit from government. And it doesn't matter what they're paying in taxes and this and that. It nets out they're getting a bigger benefit. And that's what people are responding to when Fox starts to complain about these things. They're saying, wait a second, the money's not supposed to flow that way.
Right. I mean, my point about the children, though, is that we've heard save the children from certain sections on the right for quite a long time. You know, what saves them from starvation are programs like this. I know they're
talking about saving them from critical race studies in kindergarten. That's what they're trying to save
and satanic, Democratic pedophiles who are drinking their blood, I guess. But I agreed with you completely. And if the Democrats were smart, they would. Janet Yellen already sees this. She's saying that it should be made permanent. They need to, one, rebrand this not as a tax credit, as payments, because we saw Andrew Yang had a million flaws, but UBI, there was a thirst for it, and it wasn't just in the Democratic primary. These kinds of programs with payments to help certain people just have a baseline of income for purposes that they have salience, and Democrats should lean into it.
The data shows they work too. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to David Dayen. Folks, this program is sponsored by one of our favorite sponsors. I'm talking about Sunset Lake. You can find them at Sunset Lake CBD.
They just sent me a bunch of new stuff, and I want to thank them for the extra special thing they sent, which was...
Wait, what? What's going on? What did they send you?
A bottle of gin.
What?
Whoa. And a bunch of CBD.
Well, I was gonna say it's a little. That's a little payola going on there.
But I used the tincture last night. Not bad. I mean, very good, I should say.
So I went to see the doctor the other day. He said, "You've kept your weight down. How'd you do that?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting more sleep." And he said, "How do you do that?" Because he also knows he's not prescribing me as much Ambien as he used to. And I said CBD, and he says, "Is it working?" And CBD. And he doesn't. My doctor doesn't like me to say the letters out exactly that way. Right. He doesn't. He just because he's very sensitive about it. And and I said the tincture. I take this tincture every night, and it's not every night, but like 4 nights a week, and it helps. I'm getting more sleep, and so I'm not eating to stay awake. Anyways, that's not the point. I am also staying away from Sunset Lake, their fudge, although it's delicious, and it's got embedded with CBD as well. And they also have coffee. They have pre-rolls, and they have smalls that you could chop up and put into your other stuff. Right, Matt? That's legal now in this. They have gummies. I love those gummies, man. They have the gummies. They have a salve, which, as you know, is great for, it's got arnica. It's great for your muscle pains, but I use it to treat my eczema, and I've had a lot of success with it. They also have a lotion. Great company. Their product is tested by third-party testers. They include these tests with everything they send out, and it's on their website as well. A lot of places you buy this stuff and you just don't know what's in it. They get it tested, and they make it really, really transparent. They also have great business practices, mostly employee-owned, and $15 minimum wage. They don't use any pesticides. They use integrated pest management, organic fertilizer, and like I say, they're movement partners. They've contributed quite a bit to some local community activists, and have been very helpful in terms of the St. Vincent's nurse strike happening up in Worcester, because they've got a Worcester employee working there, packing a lot of the stuff that gets shipped out to you. So just a great company. They're fans of the show. Left is Best is the coupon code. Left is Best. You get 20% off whatever you order. Left is Best. SunsetLakeCBD.com. So check it out. Also, today's show sponsored by Same people who provided me with my breakfast today. I ate it right in my jeb cup.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I got
had
to
some
order
peanut
more.
butter the other day.
Got to order
Yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah.
Healthy breakfast does not have to be boring, folks. Magic Spoon has the amazing flavors you love, but without all the sugar and the junk you're probably trying to avoid. You should be. Magic Spoon has 0 grams of sugar. And depending on the flavor, 13 to 14 grams of protein, only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving, only 140 calories per each serving as well. It is keto friendly, it is gluten free, it is grain free, it is soy free, it is low carb, and it is GMO free. You can build your own box, or you can buy a box of 4 of the same flavors, but you can do a custom version of it. They got cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, cinnamon. For me, I'm a big cinnamon fan. I had a cup of it this morning. I've gone through all those 4 or 5 boxes that we had. I plow through them. They're delicious. It's delicious. It really is. And the good news is you can both for yourself and for your kids. You can give them a healthy breakfast, and they're going to love it, and you're not going to feel bad about it. Go to magicspoon.com/Majority Report to grab your delicious cereal and try it today. Be sure to use our promo code Majority Report at checkout to save $5 off your order. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, it's magicspoon.com/Majority Report. Use the code Majority Report to save $5 off. Also, lastly, summertime, boy, is it sweaty out there. And, yep, you know what that means? Swamp ass.
Oh.
How do you fight that? Well, try a refreshing spray from Hello Tushy Bidet. There you go.
Great.
I wonder if they meant that to be, to rhyme. Refreshing spray.
I think they did.
Hello,
I think
Tushy
they're very
Bidet.
intentional with the copy.
Yes, that's true, actually. Pick up a brand new Hello Tushy 3.0 modern bidet attachment, ladies and gentlemen. I was aware of bidets for a long time, but I discovered them during COVID when Kyle said to me, like, he got a bidet, but it was a hugely expensive one. And I'm like, I'm not doing that, dude. But then I got the 2.0 Hello Tushy. I've since upgraded to the 3.0. The 3.0, stylish, it's eco-friendly, it's super easy to install, and it saves you, of course, money. It saves you money with your toilet paper. And the good thing about the 3.0, it doesn't just clean your butt with a fresh spray of water, but it also cleans itself with the Smart Spray automatic nozzle. It attaches, there's 2 things about it that amaze people when they get this. One, how easy it is to install. Literally, you take your toilet seat up, you slide it in, you put your toilet seat back down, and you don't need to have any new electricity, no added plumbing. You screw it right into your existing plumbing, and it is very, very reasonably priced. It's a great way if you've ever been bidet curious. Buy curious. No. Forget that.
I think that's what they
Bidet
were
curious.
doing with Bidet Curious, right?
They never said that's me.
Oh, that's just
No,
your
kidding.
comedic mind.
That's not a comedic mind. It's like, honestly, that's what it was. I was very bidet curious, but I wasn't going to invest. I'm not going to go get like a whatever. I'm not going to have them install a whole bidet in my house and find out, like, wait a second, I'm not. But this was a great way to try it out, and it's fantastic. And I mean, I don't even have to get it off the throne. I'm staying on the throne for it. 60-day risk-free guarantee and a 12-month warranty. Check it out. Hello Tushy. You can defeat Swamp Ass. Go to hellotushy.com/majority. Get 10% off plus free shipping. The special offer for our listeners at hellotushy.com/majority for 10% off. hellotushy.com/majority. All right. I want to welcome to the program the executive editor of the American Prospect. I should say welcome back to the program. He's been a frequent guest over the years. David Dayen. And there he is.
There he is.
David, thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Let me just start by saying I have signed up to a new newsletter. And it is the infrastructure newsletter. You may not be aware of this, but it's at the American Prospect. Or Well, I had a picture of it. Yeah, here it is. It is a newsletter that.
Yes, I send it through the mail.
Right, and
Well,
you
What do
call
you
it
mean you have a
you
picture
call it a
of it?
tax credit
I have
too,
a-
right,
I have-
David?
I have a picture of it right here. I printed out your tweet.
I see. You
And
printed
then
the tweet.
and then I print it out and then I send it to myself in the mail.
You have Emma print out tweets for you every morning so you can read
No,
them?
but that's
Like
Brendan's
Biden?
job,
That's
unfortunately
Biden.
for him.
That's Brenda. There you go. There we go. Yeah, we print out. I have. I don't look at Twitter on the computer. I have my team
Right.
print out
Like
all
Trump.
the tweets, and then I read them.
Yes, that's how old Sam is.
Yeah, exactly. I don't. The computer gets me very confused. I like to see each tweet one page at a time. No, but this newsletter is great. You've done this with the 100-day agenda. You did it with I think it was the Green New Deal as well, or I can't.
The virus.
I can't remember exactly.
First 100 days.
Oh no, right, COVID. You did it with the virus, and the 100 days, and now this, and because this is really, we are in. This is a fascinating time in our politics, and not one that I would have necessarily predicted if you had told me like 2 years ago Joe Biden's going to be president, and it's possible in July of 2021 we could be looking at such a monumental piece of legislation like this. This would be huge, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it, or no? Would it?
Yeah, I mean, could. I think the emphasis is on could and would. We're miles away from this thing getting done. The blueprint, certainly. I mean, this is a State of the Union amount of policy packed into one piece of legislation, or two, really. You have the bipartisan bill, Portman Cinema, I'm calling it. Bipartisan bill is stupid. And the budget bill. So yeah, that's you're talking about $4 trillion of public investment, which has been sorely needed in the United States for 4 decades or more. And so, yes, it would be a monumental achievement in the issue areas of education and healthcare and public works and climate, and trying to make progress on just a whole host of issues simultaneously. But as I said, long way to go here.
All right. Well, I can see that you're just dying to be a wet blanket about this, and we want to make sure that we tamp down. I mean, and fair enough. I mean, it obviously there's a huge hill to climb. So maybe we should start with the how high the hill is, and then once you walk us through all the things that have to happen, we can talk about what's in the bill, or should we start with that? I mean, to the extent that we know what's in the bill, let's talk about that, because like you say, there's a lot of legislation in these two things. Let's start with the bipartisan bill. I mean, and I know this is broad strokes, right? Because although the bipartisan, we may have a little bit more awareness of what's in it. But just outline for us what is in. Let's start with the Portman Cinema bill.
So, I mean, that is largely focused on so-called hard infrastructure, on built environment kind of stuff. So you have your roads and bridges. There's a decent amount of money for broadband, for public transit and Amtrak, and there's some remediation stuff, which is largely capping orphan oil and gas wells and increasing Superfund cleanup. So that's sort of environmental pollution based. There's a lot of money for resiliency. It just says resiliency. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go, but I presume that we're talking about money for seawalls for maybe New York, maybe Miami, things of that nature. And so you put that together. I mean, there's some money for the electric grid. I think climate advocates were very concerned that there wasn't a whole lot for climate in the bipartisan bill, and that since this other bill looked to be very much along the lines of what Biden put out, the American Families Plan, that climate might get squeezed out. I don't think that ended up being the case, at least not in the blueprint of the budget deal. But that was sort of one of the initial concerns.
So two points to make on that bill. My understanding is that bill, if the specific line item is addressed in that bill, it will not be addressed in the reconciliation bill. So if there's $30 billion for internet or $50 billion for trains, you don't get $1 for that. There's no supplementing that in the reconciliation bill.
Well, that is true. And I think the concern was there were a few things that you could contour and call climate legislation in Portman Cinema. And the concern was, okay, are they going to say we did climate in that other bill? That ended up not being the case. So yes, this reflects a lower level of ambition on the sort of brick and mortar kind of built environment infrastructure spending, but it was matched in the budget deal with a more expansive, in some ways, rendering of the human infrastructure elements.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the politics around this bill. Chuck Schumer announced, I guess yesterday, that he's going to force a test vote, maybe next Wednesday. What exactly is that test vote? And do we have a sense of, like, McConnell seems to not be sure about what to do with this on some level. And so let's talk about the dynamics there. I mean, first, let's start with the test vote. What does that mean, a test vote?
Well, it just means he's going to offer a motion to proceed onto Portman Cinema. And I think the reason that he's doing this is we got word of this agreement, I think 3 weeks ago, and they're still working on it. And they'd probably work on it forever if a deadline wasn't put into place that said, all right, enough, you're either going to do this or not. The other thing that I think is driving this process is that the idea was, okay, we'll do the bipartisan bill, and if it falls apart, we will take those elements and we will put it into the reconciliation package. You have to know whether or not that's going to fall apart before you do a budget resolution, because there are specific top line numbers that you put into the budget resolution. So if they did Portman Cinema, that top line is 3.5 trillion in the budget resolution. If they don't do it, you have to expand that to account for this hard infrastructure stuff. So I think Schumer's idea here is that we need to know whether or not you're legitimately going forward on this. And the problem is what the problem has always been on these types of bills, and that's the revenue side. Republicans have no interest in raising taxes by one dime. They very surprisingly got through in the initial framework a increase in funding for the IRS, which would be at odds with the experience of Republicans for the last 40 years. And not surprisingly, conservatives rallied against that, and now they're backing off from including that in the package. So you take that out, and there just isn't a lot left that's available to cover a $579 billion tab. And so this, I think, is the real problem they're trying to work through, because this whole thing has been set up that $1 of spending has to be offset by $1 of revenue.
But what is that pay-go thing where $1 of spending? I mean, I understand it in the context of the reconciliation bill, because that is for that reconciliation bill to pass parliamentary muster. They have to rejigger it in a way that it makes it look like it balances out over the course of 10 years or something to that effect, right?
Well, no, it has to not add to the deficit after the 10-year window.
Okay.
I mean, we did the American Rescue Plan, which cost $1.9 trillion and had zero offsets. We did that in reconciliation, and that's because it was short-term spending that did not increase the deficit outside
of
the
that
budget
10-year window.
window.
And
Right.
so, okay, so that's a constraint on a reconciliation bill. But is there any type of structural?
I mean, there's statutory pay go, but you can waive that through the Budget Act. The complaint is entirely self-generated. It's the Republicans and the moderate Democrats who have put together this framework saying we don't want this to add to the deficit. So, but they don't want to take any of the steps that would have to be taken in order to actually not add to the deficit. So that's where the rubber has hit the road. It's been a problem from the very beginning on this package, and was always going to be a problem because Republicans are simply not interested in increasing taxes or in allowing taxes that are owed to be collected. So I feel like that's an intractable problem. We're going to find out the beginnings of that in a few days. And at that point, you begin to wonder, okay, was this all just a way to waste time?
And what do we know about tax increases in the reconciliation bill, right? Because we know what Biden wanted in terms of no tax increases under $400,000 and potentially capital gains. We just don't really know, though, how it's included in this reconciliation package.
Yeah, we don't have specifics. There's nods to something on corporate taxes, something on individual taxes, something on capital gains taxes. There are three sort of buckets of pay-fors in the reconciliation package, and it actually gets really interesting. So one of them is taxes. The second one is prescription drug reform, and that was not in the Biden bill. The Biden American Families Plan or the American Jobs Plan did not include prescription drug price reform, which of course, if it saves money for Medicare, is a savings to the federal government. And you can use that savings to pay for this spending. So that could save as much as $500 billion or maybe even more over that 10-year window. It's a tremendous amount of money. And it creates sort of a virtuous circle because, of course, patients also pay less if the government is paying less for prescription drugs. If they're being negotiated at a rate to negotiate them down, patients will pay less too. And this is a huge initiative that Democrats have run on for like a decade, that they were going to lower the price of prescription drugs. And it creates a situation where for moderates who are worried about the cost and want to offset it, all right, here's a way to offset it, right? Lower the cost of prescription drugs. Break your association with big pharma, and you don't have to lower tax. You don't have to raise taxes as much because if the more that you get out of prescription drug price reform, the less you have to deal with on the tax side. The third bucket is even more interesting because it says long-term economic growth. And we remember this from back when the whole idea that tax cuts pay for themselves, right? What they said was because taxes will be cut, businesses will invest, they'll hire more people, and that tax revenue from jobs will flow into the treasury, and that will, we don't have to pay for tax cuts because they will pay for themselves. That turned out to not be true. But Democrats are trying to use that notion, and there's a bit more plausibility to it because if you're engaging in public investment in physical infrastructure or in human infrastructure, you're creating a situation where people are more educated, they can get a better job, and they can move on and increase their wage. You're increasing productivity. There are reasons and there are economic studies that show that this will increase economic growth. So effectively what they're saying is we're not going to pay for part of this. And they're not really saying it, but that's long-term economic growth means we're just going to go ahead and assume that we're going to have higher growth here, and that's going to cover the cost, the near-term cost of this particular spending. So the three buckets and how they play with one another are going to be very interesting as we move through the process.
I just want to jump back for a second to the bipartisan bill, this test vote. Like just tell us like specifically, this is a procedural vote that basically says this bill will be brought to the floor. And so is the idea that if somebody's not going to vote for this bill, that they have to vote against it now? In other words, is it once you take this step, is it locked in that the vote itself is going to happen? Or
it's not? No. I mean, it's not locked in that you would have to vote for it on final passage.
You wouldn't have to vote for it on final passage, but the real issue is, will it pass the 60 vote or the 40 vote threshold?
I mean, you need 60 to get on the bill, right? So this is a check to see, do we have 60 votes for this bill? And do we have an actual bill? Because I mean, I think what Schumer really wants is an actual bill. So we have actual language, so they're not just dithering the entire summer away. So he is going to file cloture on it on Monday, is what he said. So I know there's been a lot of negotiations between the Democrats and Republicans who have been putting together this bill, and they'll see if they have 60. And I mean, Portman has come out, and he's the co-sponsor of it, and said, if we're not ready to go by next week, I'm going to vote no on the motion to proceed. So I think it's very unclear whether or not we'll have that, but it will be an indicator of whether or not Schumer and the Senate Democrats will need to factor in the hard infrastructure into their broader reconciliation bill.
What do you think McConnell's perspective is on this? Because they just seem a little bit, I don't want to say deer in the headlight, but it's not clear that McConnell seems to have less of a sort of like a sure-footedness about this than in things in the past. Usually, like, 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out, he's like, we're never going to pass this. But it seems like they're not sure what they should do here.
I'd say two things. Number one, Portman's kind of a key lieutenant of McConnell, so he doesn't really, I think, want to undercut him at this point. The second is this whole two-stage process. This has been kind of memory hold, but it was the Republicans' idea. Their idea was, we'll give you a modest amount of infrastructure spending, and we will watch and laugh as you are not able to put together the broader reconciliation bill, and that will fall apart, and Republicans will get a partial win. Some of our members will get a partial win on roads and bridges, and then we'll take back the Senate. That was their idea. That they could go ahead, take credit for a physical infrastructure bill, and then watch everything else go to pot. Now that Democrats seem to be getting it together, there's some supportive comments today from Manchin saying he's not going to be a hindrance to this. I think there's a little more hesitancy, and I think the big turning point was when Pelosi, agreeing with progressives, said, we're not going to pass any of this stuff until we get two bills from the Senate, until we get the bipartisan bill and the reconciliation bill. So then they figured out, like, here's a way to actually do this that everyone in the party might be on board with. Although I think there's going to still be some. I think the problem is going to be more in the House than the Senate, and that's maybe a minority view, but. Seeing what I'm seeing in terms of the Senate getting together on this deal, and knowing that there are recalcitrant House members who are much more deficit concerned, who have spoken out against specific pieces of the bill, and who are much more invested in things like the state and local tax deduction, which would throw a huge wrench into this because it costs a lot of money, and you'd have to backfill that with more revenue offsets.
This is like Gottheimer in New Jersey, exactly. And there's a couple of those
exactly. So I think the House is actually going to be the bigger problem, but and I think that there are going to be certain House members who are going to say, we want that bipartisan bill on the floor. and we don't want to wait. And progressives are saying, no, we don't want to be loosing the football. We want to wait until both bills are passed, and then we pass everything in one shot. We all leap together. That's, I think, going to be where we see this get very interesting. But
sidebar.
Yeah.
There was a new PAC. The Democrats have a PAC out there to protect incumbents, and they are literally spending money to protect. It's not going to be progressives who are not going to sign on to this package. It is the people that they're expending money to protect from the progressives who are balking at this bill.
I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, Pelosi, whatever you think about Nancy Pelosi, she knows how to wrangle the votes. And I think ultimately she might be able to do that, but I think she's going to have a problem with certain aspects of it. And especially if Manchin, sort of the price of Manchin is to whittle down the climate pieces of the reconciliation bill. I think that might be problematic to progressives, and they're I mean, the thing is, the Republican grand design here that they could pass a bipartisan bill and then watch Democrats flail, that's still in play. I mean, there's still a lot of unanswered questions as to how Democrats are going to square the circle among their caucus. And they need almost everyone, not just everybody in the Senate, but everybody. I think they have 3 votes to spare in the House right now because of special elections and that. So this is not a slam dunk. I mean, this is going to be very tight in terms of getting everybody on the same page. And so the Republican design could work, but the fact that it couldn't is giving them some pause.
Let's talk a little bit about healthcare in this, right? I mean, one of the big ticket items, is the expansion of Medicare. There's also talk of trying to federalize Medicaid provision for those people eligible in Republican states that haven't expanded it. But let's put that aside for a second.
Right.
The expansion of Medicare, there seems to be like a lot of different sort of, as a whole, mixed messages, right, coming out of this. The reporting a couple of weeks ago was we're going to expand the benefits of Medicare to include dental and hearing and vision, but we're not going to drop the age. Joe Biden ran on dropping the age to 60. I think you had Sanders and I think maybe Warren dropping the age to 55. Mm-hmm. And the reporting a couple of weeks ago is they're going to dropping the age, and they're just going to expand the benefits. And in an interview with Adi Barkan, the Speaker Pelosi signaled that there's no money to drop to age 60. She said, we're using all the money from the savings on the drugs to expand the benefits for Medicare.
Right.
But then Premier Jayapal said the other day that she heard that the dropping of the age was still in play. What?
It looks like it's just the dental, vision, and hearing expansion. That there is no increase in the Medicare age or lowering of the Medicare age. The other thing is that the health insurance subsidies that were in the American Rescue Plan for 2 years, they were going to expire after 2022, will be extended in this bill. So it's not just seniors that are going to get a benefit. It's those who are on the exchanges, which is also a small population, but those on the exchanges, it would be made more affordable for more years. And then there's the coverage gap, the Medicaid coverage gap in non-expansion states would be closed. And I'm not sure exactly the formulation of how they would do that. Is it a public option? It's unclear to me how that happens. But so they're whittling away at the uninsured population through those couple things. But I have not seen any credible commentary or reporting that that the Medicare age is going to be lowered. I don't see that happening.
Then what was Jayapal's motivation there? Was that trying to just force the issue? And it seemed, Politico, Washington Post backed it up at the time. It's just I'm curious to.
Yeah, I mean, you have to ask her. I know it was in play. It was part of the Sanders $6 trillion initial plan that was whittled down to 3.5. Which, I mean, I think Sanders showed that he knows how to negotiate. He bid very high, and he got down to a place that still would be a massive increase in public investment. I can't speak to why she said what she said, or even why Sanders was saying what he said. I did see that he claimed that the Medicare age would be lowered in this bill, but I just haven't seen that come out. And so certainly I assume it's something to fight for. One thing to understand is that HR 3, which is the prescription drug price reform bill that was already written and passed in the House in 2020, that had this exchange. It did the price reform and it used the savings to expand dental, vision, and hearing. So they could just port that into the reconciliation bill. It's already written, and move forward with it. And I think that's the thinking on the Hill, is that, well, we already figured this out, right? We lower the cost of prescription drugs and we use the savings to increase the benefits in Medicare. And so that's, I think, what they're doing.
Although I have to say, I think it was, I think The Intercept reported that Ron Wyden has now, instead of taking HR 3 and putting it in there, he is creating some type of construction here.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm actually going to have a piece out on Monday about a little more of this, but it plays with, there's an interesting added element to this, which is, and I think we're going to be talking about this, the Biden put out this executive order about competition in the U.S. economy. And there are some prescription drug focused elements of that. And one of them is in 45 days from the order, which was a week ago, so now we're at 38 days. In 38 days, the Department of Health and Human Services has to come up with a document with recommendations for how to lower the cost of drugs, both legislatively and through executive action. So there's kind of an interesting thing here that we talked about with respect to the day one agenda of, using executive action as a lever to force Congress to act. So they could put out this thing in 38 days and say, we're going to be very aggressive here. We're going to take patents away. We're going to do some serious stuff unless Congress gets its act together to lower the cost of prescription drugs. And at that point, no matter who's writing it, Wyden or Pelosi or whoever, the Congress does not want to be circumvented. Like, if they don't do something on a policy, they want it not done. They don't want the president to come in and actually do something about it. And so if they see the president is about to do something about it, they might, move in a different direction. So I think there are some opportunities there. The interplay between the executive order and the prescription drug price bill that's being negotiated.
I want to turn to that executive order and all, in just one more moment. But the Wyden, if I remember correctly, during the ACA, also interjected. Like, he had some, there was a period of time where he sort of went off and had like another sort of, like, I think it was with Specter, maybe. I can't remember quite the details, but
there was a thing called Wyden Bennett, and that was Bob Bennett of Utah. And it was a very operatic kind of system. There was a wholly different way of doing health reform.
And it derailed things for a little bit, if I remember correctly.
For a little while. I don't think Wyden's the biggest problem area on prescription drugs. I think it's clearly Bob Menendez, who represents New Jersey, which is a huge state for pharmaceuticals. I would say the Delaware senators would also be a pretty big impediment. It's these states that have pharma in there, as a major industry that you have to look out for. And so the relative aggressiveness, because HR3, by the way, was a compromise. There are fewer drugs that are subject to negotiation through Medicare in HR3 than there could be. The reference prices are not as stringent in HR3 as they could be. So HR3 was already a compromise from the Lloyd Doggett compulsory licensing bill that was much more aggressive. And so if the Senate then compromises down even from that, that's going to be a problem. But I think the thing in the corner of progressives is if you start watering down that prescription drug bill, you get less money out of it.
Yeah.
And so they're going to need that money. And that is going to be a spur to, keep this thing as aggressive as.
Let's hope. All right, let's turn to this the executive order that Biden he signed it at this point, and it is really across the board has a whole host. It's basically like a suite. It's like one of those and you get one of those Microsoft packages where you get like the calendar and you get this has a whole host of different things.
Did you print that out too and put it on your desk?
I bit my tongue, David.
Hey, buddy, we heard your landline that you had. So I think it's a little bit glass housey of you to bring that up. But yes, of course, I print all of this out. And so what strikes you as the most important out of this this suite of stuff, and some of it, I imagine, also came from your day one agenda.
Well, yes, but I'd say the most important thing isn't any one piece of it, but the direction, the general concept that we have an economy that isn't working for everyone, that is working for a few people at the top that are allowed to consolidate power, and that government has a role to play in doing something about that. I mean, that's clearly the most important thing here. The elements of it are all important in their own right, but it's a signal. It's a powerful signal that we're going to change a trajectory that has gone in one direction for the past, I keep saying 40 years, but that, the Reagan era is seemingly when everything took a nosedive. I think that's got to be backed up by Biden's other actions, namely the personnel that can carry out this order. So we still don't have an assistant attorney general for antitrust. And it would be absolutely absurd to put together this expansive order that says competition is a real problem in the US economy and we're going to do something about it, and then hire some, antitrust bar lackey who doesn't think competition is a real problem in the US economy. So in my view, it really puts Biden in a box. Like, he has to now pick someone who's going to be aggressive on these issues, because he laid it out as his thinking on within this order. As far as specifics, I would point you towards the encouragement to do a limitation or ban on non-compete agreements. This was something that was in the day one agenda. These are agreements that employees sign that say they won't go to a rival company for a certain period of time if they leave their job. And these things have become pervasive particularly in low wage work, like janitors sign these, and
Well, that's the amazing
fast
thing. I think
food
like
workers.
most people hear that and they assume like, oh, this is for like the top executive or the guy
No, it's more pervasive at the bottom, actually.
Yes,
And because it's a wage suppression vehicle. I mean, if you're a Jimmy John's and you can't go to the Wendy's across the street, then you have no options as a fast food worker, and they can keep your wages down. I mean, that's what this is really about. And so that was really refreshing to see. We mentioned one of the others that is in our thing is right to repair, which is big companies like Apple in the consumer electronics space and John Deere in the farm machinery space. They do not allow individuals to repair their own equipment. They have to be unlocked by software. And this would encourage the FTC to write a rule that says you have to give the ability for individuals or third parties to repair equipment. That's a really big issue, actually. It's kind of under the radar. And then the third one that was from our day one agenda, and also regards prescription drugs, is the having the FTC do an end to pay for delay deals. And this, it's kind of amazing this exists because it's really pure bribery. It is agreements between a drug manufacturer and a generic would-be competitor, where the manufacturer pays the generic to delay entry into the market of a drug. So pay for delay. It's a bribe being given by a drug company that has a monopoly to a would-be competitor to stay out of the market. So amazingly, this still takes place, and this order directs the FTC to get rid of that.
I spoke with Zephyr Teachout about all of these, and she seemed quite encouraged, which I was encouraged by her encouragement. And you seem to say that there's a lot of good things in here too. Was this a bit of an effort to kind of buttress Lina Khan's recent actions? Because almost to say by Biden, he's not going to allow her as the chair to just be on an island, attempting to fortify her from with these executive orders, because she's being, the Wall Street Journal is not happy. The Wall Street Journal editorial page has been going after what she's been doing, which in my estimation means she's doing a good job.
Right, exactly. The FTC has a lot of power in this executive order, not only in specific items that are given to the FTC to deal with, but it sort of sets up the FTC as a coordinator of this across the economy and across the federal government, I should say. Saying that they would participate in certain studies, or they would participate in the implementation of certain items, even outside of the FTC's jurisdiction. So it really sets up Lina Khan as sort of an overseer of competition policy across the government. Now, there's another problem there with respect to personnel. And, we had a piece from Alex Salmon this week said, there's one problem with this executive order. It's that the personnel is not there. So I mentioned the AAG for antitrust. There is not a fifth member of the Federal Communications Commission. The order calls for the restoration of net neutrality. You can't do that unless you get a full complement of Democrats on that committee. And then with respect to the FTC, right now, the FTC has a 3-2 split in favor of Democrats. But one of those commissioners is Rohit Chopra. And Rohit Chopra has been nominated to serve as the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And that nomination is going to be confirmed probably, it might be even this month, if not just a little bit shortly thereafter. And Biden has not nominated a replacement for Rohit Chopra, although he knows that Rohit Chopra is going away. So if Chopra gets confirmed and moves over to CFPB, all of a sudden you have this 2-2 deadlock on the FTC again. And we know how long nominations take. They take months. And that would put the FTC kind of out of commission for a number of months. So, one thing we see with Biden, and I think the people who wrote this order I don't think Biden sat down and wrote this executive order. Like, that's not how this works.
What?
But yes, exactly. I'm demystifying things here. But the people who wrote this order are very dedicated to seeing out this policy. But there have been a lot of delays on personnel, and that's really going to hurt the effectiveness of this policy.
Well, why? We just have a minute or two left here. Why does that happen? I mean, why are you able to sit there thousands of miles away from Washington, D.C. and say, like, hey, there's an immovable object that is running, headlong, and another object that's moving headlong towards it. And at one point, there's going to be, they're going to smash into each other. Like, how come you're able to see that? I mean, surely they must be aware of it. It's just like they've got
They are aware of it. I mean,
too busy.
the thing that you have to understand is that when you talk about the administration, that's not one unit moving together in the same direction, right? You have progressives in this administration, you have centrists in this administration, you have folks who are backing maybe corporate interests in this administration, you have folks who are backing the public interest, and they get into fights over personnel. And what has happened, what we have seen is when those fights happen and there's a deadlock, that Biden doesn't step in and settle the deadlock, and they just move on and they don't make a decision. And I've done enough reporting to know that this is kind of the dynamic that goes on. And maybe if you have a good acting director, that doesn't matter, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. And it's catching up with the Biden administration with respect to this competition order. It's very much catching up with them with respect to financial regulation. I wrote a piece this week about how financial reform groups are very upset that there are numerous vacancies in among bank regulators and Wall Street regulators. So it's Biden needs to get involved here a little bit and settle these disputes because they're just deadlocking on too many of these things, and it's now affecting the agenda.
David Dayen, executive editor of the American Prospect, and overseeing the new infrastructure newsletter, which you can be delivered electronically.
I mail it directly to you, so you get the news 3 to 4 business days later. But
all right,
which is fine with you, apparently.
I can hold it in my hand, and that's what the important part is. Thank you so much, man. Always a pleasure.
See you later.
Thanks.
All right, gonna take a quick break. Be right back. Wrap up the week for our Peacock viewers. All right, folks, if you're watching us on The Choice from MSNBC on the Peacock app, we will say adieu and have a great weekend, and we will see you again on Monday.
Yes. And
for the rest of you watching us via the various computer things, even those of you who print out the show.
That's hard.
I know that we have some viewers who literally print out the show. They frame and just do the old thing where you take it and
right, like a Mickey Mouse animation from 1942.
Do it like that,
right.
And you print it out and you watch the show that way, and that's the way that they get it. I'm okay with that as well. We're gonna head into the fun half.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, before we go into the fun half, we've been teasing this, and the freebie listeners to be aware of this too. happens in endeavors like this all the time. We have personnel changes that take place. 4 years ago, was it 4 years ago? Just about 4 years ago, we had a round of hiring. Now, Matt, you came in. When did you come in?
Fall of 2015.
So you were like 6 years.
2 years, yeah.
6 years.
Wow.
And I can't remember what it was. I can't remember exactly how that happened. That
Well, Binder was leaving, and then you brought Kelly and I on.
Right.
And then
Kelly was
left,
leaving.
and then so we brought
Okay.
Brendan and Jamie on.
Right. Okay. And at that point, I was like, I need to find a producer who's gonna really be a producer. Not Binder was a real producer. Michael was like a sort of a producer. He was more. Michael knew what he wanted to do, and that was he wanted to be commentating more, and so. But he did some producerial stuff. But I need to I can't finding all the guests and pulling the stories every day. I'm just working like 16 hours a day, and it's just too much. I can't do it constantly. Where am I going to find somebody who already knows this stuff, but doesn't want to actually talk about it on air, and also has producer skills? And so I went to ZipRecruiter, and a lot of good candidates, but you get a good candidate who's like, well, I can do this and that. And then what's your politics like? What? What do you mean? And they don't know. And I'm like, well, have you what politics shows do you watch on YouTube? Can you watch politics shows on YouTube? It was like that type of thing. But Brendan came in, and he actually said at one point, I said, look, what we do is we do our show, and then we clip up the show, and different stories. Like, yeah, I know. In my last job, I literally had to figure out a way of blocking you because I wanted to pull the clips without you talking over it. And which a lot of people, feel that way. Anyways, Brendan joined the show, and he was 17 at the time. And his
name was Patrick.
Yeah, his name was Patrick. But over time, Patrick grew into Brendan, and then was old enough to actually have his own bank account, and then we
You take him out to drink.
we take a lot of back pay. We had to do a lot of back pay because we weren't because of these really cumbersome child labor laws, and but every good thing comes to an end. And sadly, Brendan has decided that his future does not lie in production of this program, but instead, Brendan, do you want to chime in with what you're gonna do? He's gonna walk over here. Oh, he's gonna take Matt's mic. Okay.
I'm gonna be heading to grad school to get a degree in public health policy at UNC.
Look at this. Look at this. He's going to get a graduate someday. Brendan is going to be a guest on this program, and he's going to be brought, and that's how we get the inside track.
Yeah.
We keep sending people to
It's a farm system.
Yeah, we send him to grad school, and so that we get the first dibs on his thesis and his book and stuff like that. That's the way we do it around here. But Brendan has been an invaluable asset to the show and to me personally. Made it possible for me to sort of do the show. Sometimes it gets a little hard doing it day in, day out. And, you start getting into 15, 16 years. Gets a little bit tricky. Every day, there's a deadline at noon. Every day, at noon. Noonish. And so, one of the things that Brendan I could always tell, he never articulated this, but he always was one of the first people in line at the commissary when I would open up the commissary. And I whip out the key to the commissary, and there was always a look in his eye, one time I let him actually turn the key. It was in the lock, and I let him turn the key.
That's hard for a 17-year-old.
Well, I mean, it's not even a question of age. It's just a question of an honor. And here it is. This is the key. This is the key right here. Oh, wait. Oh,
You dropped it.
I got it. It's attached. Because I keep it on a chain because I don't want to lose it. There is only 2 keys to the commissary. Here is the first one right here. You can see it. It's a very old lock. Commissary in this building has been around for a long time. They weren't even using it as a commissary when we started. Here's the key right here. And I got it attached. I tie it to the one of our podcast awards so that you don't lose it.
No one steals it, too.
So no one steals it. And no one can walk up. But nobody's allowed to touch this key except for me.
Yeah.
So Brendan, come on over here. Come around this side. Come around. Oh, what are you doing? You gonna come? What are you doing? It's the first time that Brendan. I want to give you something.
Could have gone around that way.
Could have gone that way. Okay. This is the key to the commissary right here. You're not getting this key because I can't afford to. This one is too convenient to carry around. But I'm going to give you this key. It's the only other key to the commissary. And here it is. It's this key right here. This is the other commissary key. And this I would like to give to you for your tireless work and all the times. And now you can go down and just during hours, I have obviously the surveillance cameras on the commissary so that you don't do this. But here is the commissary key. I give it to you. Do we just like right there? There you go. There you go. Hold on for 1 second. Shoot. Let's see.
Sam, look at the camera. He's posing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there's your commissary key right there. And, well, I'll give you one of these. I don't know the applauses. Oh. Sorry, go ahead, Brendan.
Thank you very much, Sam, for the commissary key. I promise to take very good care of it, and
Now,
hopefully.
that means occasionally you may have to come back because if I'm not here, nobody else is allowed to use this one. And if I'm not here and people need to get in and get a snack or something, you may have to come back just to open up the door.
I've already talked to a bunch of the key makers in the neighborhood.
They won't make that.
They
key.
said you explicitly came in and said you can't make copies of this.
You cannot. No, of course not. Of course not.
Unfortunate.
Nope.
But, it's been a great 4 years, and I absolutely will be coming back now and again to, I don't know.
Well, I
hang
mean,
out.
You're ending on awful terms. You're leaving that out, right?
No, am I?
No.
Oh, Emma wants to create some drama.
No one speculate on that online. It's all very good. And if anyone is in the Research Triangle area, I'll be around. Hit me up.
Oh, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody, feel free to stay at Brendan's place. He's just offered up based like a free Airbnb.
Right.
Yes.
Brendan wants to pursue his...
That was not an offer for a free Airbnb. I said, maybe if you want to get a beer or something, or show me the area because I don't know it very well, we can do that.
Also, if you have any insight into ivermectin, that's where Brendan is leaving to go research that. So.
That's right. He is a hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, I'm getting the hydroxychloroquine disciplines.
Yes,
that's
hydroxychloroquine fellow. And so now Brendan's not actually technically leaving for about a week and about 2 weeks, right?
And I'll be consulting with the Majority Report in various capacities.
Nobody ever really leaves.
Yeah.
But Brendan will be here for 2 weeks. But I just wanted to do this now so he gets his sort of Derek Jeter retirement tour. And should we talk about his replacement? Maybe just briefly tease it.
Oh wow! I think we've been teasing it.
We've been teasing it. maybe what we'll do is we'll give out one letter a day.
After day 4, I think they might get the impression. But
What's that?
after day 4, I think they might get the impression. But
They might, or maybe not. I will tell you this, like, folks know that it's very, very difficult for me to learn new names and to pronounce new names. So I desperately looked for someone named Brendan or Brenda
Or Patrick.
or Patrick. Those are the 3 names that I had on the docket. I could not find that. Could not find it. So we went with the next best thing, which is someone whose name was a B and an R.
Oh, so you gave 2.
Yeah, we give 2, and then we give another one every day. We give another letter.
Is BR allowed to speak, though?
1 letter a day. You could say,
B.
there it is. There it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. You will get to know B as time goes on. Oddly enough, Brendan has known B for a long time. Long time. So there you go. But we'll let this unfurl, as it were, going forward. I just also want to say this. On Monday, I'm going to be talking to Dr. Michael Osterholm. He is one of the top epidemiologists in the country. I think he certainly was part of the COVID team for the transition for Biden. We have interviewed him in the past. If you have any specific questions about COVID, about pandemics, about the Delta variant, whatever it is, send us an email at majorityreporters@gmail.com. This is your opportunity to ask one of the top epidemiologists in the country a question. Email us at majorityreporters@gmail.com. Put into the subject line just COVID. Let's do it that way. And we will endeavor to ask as many of those questions as possible on Monday. I've got a lot of questions myself. I'm sure I'm sure you folks do too. Particularly right now, we're in a very weird time as we start to see the Delta variant get.
Yeah, LA is kind of locking down now.
They're not. They're taking it.
Mandate.
Masking mandate. And certainly I was getting a little lax about wearing my mask in public places. I'm up in that again a little bit. Just an abundance of caution. But there you go. So check it out.
Although I feel like throughout the rest of history, I'm going to be wearing a mask on the subway.
I honestly like the anonymity.
I know you do. Yeah, you said that before. I've gotten recognized with my mask on, so.
Yeah, so have I actually a couple times now.
Oh, the chat thinks it's Brandon
Sutton.
Interesting. Nope. That's a good guess, though. That's a good guess. See that?
It's well, I think.
No. That's a good guess. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Head into the fun half. The number is 646-257-3920 is the number. We invite you to call in and be a part of the program. We will see you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Anarchy. Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just wanna degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it in my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman.
And the alpha males are back.
Oh
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ.
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Dinner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense. You see white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males.
Psych. Fuck them. Fuck them. Snowflake says what? Snowflake says what? A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. Okay, I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank.
All lives matter. Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus?
I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych.
And the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black African. And the alpha males are black. And the Africans are back.
When you see Donald Trump out there, doesn't a little part of you think that America deserves to be taken over by jihadists? Keeping it 100. Can't knock the hustle. Come on, fuck 'em. Things I do for the bigger game plan. By the way, it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me, Jew boy. I have a thought experiment for you.
And the alpha males are back. Africans are black. Alpha males are black. Africans are back.
Come on. Come on. Someone needs to pay the price for blasphemy around here.
I am a total pussy.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the fun half of the Majority Report. The phone number is 646-257-3920. Why am I not seeing any calls? That's not possible.
There's a mass exodus after Brendan's leaving.
That's it. People are just like no longer participating.
My girlland did
Yeah,
tell
the
me, though,
voicemail's on.
I forgot to
The
mention
voicemail's on. That's why. What?
Oh.
I forgot to mention this earlier, but my girlfriend did say we should call it Brexit.
Oh, that is a good idea.
That's funny.
That is a good. It's Brexit, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. The phones have lit up. Let's go to the phones. Calling from a 615 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Is this me? I'm Alacrity from Alabama, and I have returned, Mr. Seder.
You've returned to where?
To this show.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I wish to address. I just wanted to say two things. One, I addressed some of the points made in your show. It's on your Majority Report Reddit. I don't know if you saw it, but I just wanted to say that. And two, I wanted to address something that you said towards the end of the show last week when I called. So you mentioned.
I don't remember when you called. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
Oh, it's quite all right. I'm going to explain it. Anyway, towards the end, you mentioned something about the minimum wage and about the incentivization of technological development and how that would be a benefit of the minimum wage. And my point is that, yes, that would be the case, but the problem is that the minimum wage has other drawbacks that make it an undesirable policy, especially when you have other ones, such as the earned income tax credit, that are superior and don't have the drawbacks that the minimum wage does. I could detail this empirically if you were interested.
No.
Okay, so what is your view on the minimum wage then? You mentioned a $25 minimum wage potentially. Was that something that you would like but just wouldn't implement because it's infeasible politically, or and what is your economic take on that?
I mean, I think around the country, you know, we could easily go up to $15, $20 as a federal minimum wage. I would probably start tomorrow with $15 minimum wage. And certainly in other parts of the country, I would start with a $25 minimum wage. in some parts of the country. I mean, I would do that. But I wouldn't necessarily be against an earned income tax credit, an increase in that, to offset the minimum wage. I don't know why you would want the government to provide this money as opposed to private industry. But what you in particular, I'm not saying necessarily I wouldn't, but I would be open to something like that. I mean, look, the reason why we need a minimum wage now, in part, is because we have commodified too many things that we shouldn't be commodifying, like or remain commodified. So if we had let's say Medicare for all, let's say we had energy costs that were nationalized, let's say, so that we could move to renewable energy quicker. That would start to take some of the pressure off. I would still want to raise it to $15 an hour. But I'm saying the necessity for it would obviously get diminished the more things that are, in housing. We had more housing subsidies, whether that's, sort of government built housing or some type of housing scheme or all of these things. But we don't have any of those things. And you have people who are earning $15 an hour or less, I should say, and or on the minimum wage, and regardless of how much they work, they can't afford to live anywhere. They can't afford to eat. Can't afford to get health care. It's absurd.
Yes, but the problem is that the minimum wage policy, when you look at it, it has undesirable employment effects, so it just increases unemployment.
That is just simply not the case. There are the data shows that may hurt teen employment, maybe in certain areas, but broadly speaking, what you're saying is just not borne out by the data.
Actually, no, not really. And in fact, we can argue about the employment studies because there are many studies back and forth over it. But if you look at proxy data, for example, one study from Science Direct found that a $1 increase in the local minimum wage increases low-skilled immigration by 3.1%. And another study from NBER found that a minimum wage hike increases crime and arrests of, as you said, 16 to 24-year-olds. So there is
minimum wage hike increases crime and do you say minimum wage hike increases crime?
Yes, that was an NBER study.
And how does that happen?
Well, I can send you the study. I didn't memorize it. But
I'm not asking you to memorize it. I mean, it's just one thing to say that, like, hey, in this place where the minimum wage went up, crime also went up. That doesn't necessarily mean it's causal. I mean, surely you must have looked at the causation relationship.
So I don't quite remember the methodology used, so I'll send it to you after the show if you're interested.
Well, what is the conclusion, though, that children don't, because those children can't enter into the workforce due to the minimum wage?
Yes, that is the conclusion. And the other study that I cited from Science Direct, it also found that it increases immigration from the counties that raised the minimum wage. So if it didn't harm unemployment, you would expect more people going there to get higher paying jobs due to a higher minimum wage, but that isn't what happens.
Well, I don't know that people who are making minimum wage have that much mobility necessarily. It's expensive to move. But all right.
But they leave.
I mean,
by 3%.
You can send me that study too.
I will. What is your email? Oh, I'll send it to Majority Reporters then.
Yes. Well, it was great hearing from you.
Oh, well, thank you. It was fun to call in.
I appreciate the call. Really, really worried about the minimum wage. I mean, the idea that like $7.25. I mean, it's just absurd, the minimum wage right now. We have studies that show contiguous counties, 2 different states, but the counties that are contiguous. One state raises the minimum wage, the other doesn't. No change in unemployment. We have examples from places like Seattle. Obviously, I would imagine Seattle, you probably have even more room for higher wages with Seattle.
Well, they were one of the first, so that would be indicative of the dynamic he's talking about if that bore out, which it didn't.
Right. But we will. I will look at those studies. Calling from a 317 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello?
This me?
Yes?
Oh, this is Terry from Indiana.
Terry from Indiana.
Thoroughly surprised you picked up a 317 area code number. I really didn't have anything to say. I've been listening to you guys' show for about 6 years. Helped me get involved with my local politics.
Great.
And I just want to thank you guys for putting the truth out there. Give me something to listen to other than, Crazy Morning Joe and those people.
Well, I appreciate your calling in just to say that, Terry. That was very nice of you.
Well, that's all I got. You guys keep it up.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
There you go.
I like that kind of call.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Matt's all for those calls.
Calling from a 734 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi. 1 second. Sorry. Hello? Is this me?
Yes, it's you.
Oh, sweet. Oh, finally. I finally got onto the show. I've called like 3 different times before, but I finally got onto the show. Good to be on. So I kind of want to talk about 2 things. I'm going to try to be quick about it, just so that way other people can get a chance to call. The first thing I want to talk about is you guys talked about critical race theory before.
Will you just say your name and where you're calling from?
Oh, shoot. I am so sorry. My name is Brent. I'm calling from Michigan. Sorry.
Okay. Bren or Brian?
Brent.
Brent. Okay, Brent. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry about that. But the first thing I want to talk about real quick is, because you guys have talked about critical race theory before, and I want to say that I am a high school teacher. I teach history. I love history. I'm teaching history right now. I just got done with my first year teaching. And so I teach at a school that has a variety of minority students. And the one thing that just really want to get this out there, just really pisses me off about these conservative people that talk about critical race theory as this thing that shouldn't be taught in schools. It makes me really upset, because using critical race theory is exactly what it is. It's a theory. So in history, there's various theories as to why history happens. There's Marxist theory, which looks at like the economics of it. There's geographical theory. There's gender theory. All sorts of different things like that. And so I think critical race theory is one of those good things that you can use for studying history. Now, what really makes me upset is when conservatives say that we shouldn't have this in the school. So basically my question to them is, when I'm teaching my students, who once again are vast majority minority students, how am I supposed to teach them history? How am I supposed to teach them how they get to today, what's going on in their lives? How can I teach them if I can't say that slavery is bad? Because they're looking at it all across different states.
Brent.
Talking about banning critical race theory.
Brent, first
in
off,
the states.
Brent, first off, critical race theory does not teach that slavery is bad. Just slavery is bad. There's no, like, you don't need critical race theory for that. A. B, you are making a category error. And the category error you're making is that conservatives actually care that that this is being taught. They have been quite explicit about this. Critical race theory is a euphemism. It's just it sounds, nefarious. It sounds academic, and so it is a euphemism that means things like teaching actual non-myth-based history in this country. In other words, that the Lost Cause was BS. That, hey, these statues are not up here to celebrate the Confederate culture, whatever that means. These statues were up here as a way of asserting white supremacy at a time where there was an era in this country where whites were reasserting their political power by very often violent means. And so they're not, you're asking a question as if they're being sincere, and they're not.
Right.
They're not being sincere.
Right.
This is no different than Donald Trump riding down the escalator and getting up and saying, you know, they're sending all their rapists from Mexico. I'm sure some of them are nice people. It's really just like a slightly different way of saying the same thing.
Right. Yeah. And if you look, actually, to go back to go to what you talked about with the statues, there's this great picture online, and it shows, and it's like a graph, and it shows when statues were placed, monuments were placed, and when schools were placed. The biggest time in history when Confederate statues were placed were in the early 1900s, so 1900s, 1910s, about around the 1920s, back when the Ku Klux Klan was really starting to gain their numbers. The second biggest one is during the Civil Rights Movement. So it's one of those things where you got to look at it and go, yeah, there's obviously something else behind that. And so, and it's one of the things, like you said, you know, like conservatives don't really care. And it's like, yeah, but it just really pisses me off. It makes me upset, because how am I supposed to tell these students, like, oh, you know, the reason why your families are down, you know, is just blah, blah, blah. But great men like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, like, it just makes my blood boil, you know, to basically have them go, like, you know, you can't tell students about this. Like, I was telling students about the Tulsa race riots and massacres that happened in 1921, I think it was. But it's just one of those things where I didn't learn about that when I was in high school.
No,
I didn't learn about that.
I didn't either. Of course not. And frankly, for most of my adult life, I didn't know about what happened in Charleston. I didn't know what happened in Tulsa. We've covered a half a dozen of these. We've had authors on talking about it, because I didn't know any of these things. And didn't know what happened in the Northwest region in the mid-early 1800s in terms of like all the black farmers there that were basically outlawed, essentially. I mean, on and on and on. And so, yes, they don't want this history taught because it recontextualizes the present day. And they don't want that.
Yeah, anything that doesn't... They want to naturalize hierarchy, and anything that questions that as anything other than constructed is a challenge.
Yes, and that specifically, you know, goes to things like, you know, wealth accumulation. There's one or two reasons why one group of people has more or less wealth than another. One could be just because one group is just better at making money.
Or you get some guy go on Rogan and say maybe black people have a special gene that makes them violent.
Yes. Right. Or the other answer could be that one group has been systemically prevented from accumulating wealth over the course of 200 years plus. So that's basically the game. Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go just do a couple of IMs, and then we'll get a couple of clips here going. Theorist. People like G. Greenberg and M. Taibbi, I don't know who G. Greenberg is, but should take every Joyce Vance segment on MSNBC and state what she said that was wrong. She was on weekly or more and provided and still does excellent coverage. I don't know who Joyce Vance is.
Joyanne Reed?
I don't know. Speaking of Rachel Maddow, might not be crap. Have you looked into the show which she praised art for supporting voting rights? She has reported that AT&T gave. I can't make out
confused.
What the all this is. Who's art? Who's Joyce Vance? I have no idea who these people are.
I'm in a dream.
Exactly. New Grangler. If David Dayen was a Batman villain, he would be David Bayen. Okay. And Brendan is wicked smart. Congrats.
Still in the dream?
Yep. Yeah, it's weird. Joyce Vance is a former DA who's always on MSNBC. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't. Username. On non-compete, my best friend is a baker. She worked in the Wegmans bakery and couldn't get a job at Dunkin', for example. I'm using an analogy, but this is illustrative of what happened to her. She had to get a second job outside of her field doing retail. Should I sabotage the BS Business Bro marketing book I'm editing? I mean, probably not if you want to work again, but maybe you could put in something that's like a
little Easter egg.
Yeah, a little Easter egg there. The Tim Caucus. Love that Dayen mentions Jimmy John's. I literally had to sign that after I left. I couldn't work for a competitor who derived more than a certain percent of revenues from sandwiches. I was 16 in high school.
Unreal.
That is, like, I had no idea. I had no idea. I have never been in a position, well, I've rarely had any type of jobs like that ever in my life. Not Jimmy John's or even like, an executive job. I mean, the only time I was actually I don't even know if I was an employee at Air America. But I just assumed that most of these non-compete were like, I'm a, tech whiz and I'm going to sign this, thing because if you train me for 3 years, I'm going to go out and compete against you or something like that. I had no idea how sort of like ubiquitous it's become. Parkour Obama. This douche. He got wrecked on Reddit trying to make his ridiculous argument. That guy is such a clown. He tells people on Reddit that he's featured on the Majority Report. He's a goof. Illuminati kids. For the print-based viewers, I think it would be cool if the store offered the best of moments on the show on Zoetrope. Aaron is not cool. Good luck to Brendan. Congrats to him. Chad is thirsty for Brendan. Chris from Taiwan. I'm still not entirely sure what Brendan looks like, but I will miss him nonetheless.
Well, he just came on camera, so.
Yeah. Barry O. Binder. Congrats, Brendan, on getting accepted to grad school. See you on this other side, brother. Brexit and Brentry. It's true. And Jay Connor. Feel strong, man clap from Twitch chat. Best of luck to Brendan moving forward. Sam. Soiled calves. Sam's oiled calves. There we go. Oh, that's what Brendan looks like.
Or your soiled calves.
Yes, could be. Judy Ruliani. Is that a chocolate key? Godcat. I want to believe I'm capable of being your Holly Hunter, Emily Mortimer. Would you settle for a Carl Pinkleton type?
Carl Pilkington?
Pilkington, yes. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people applying for that, Godcat, but we may have multiple Pilkingtons. Gagabool. Sam Seder proving once again why he's consistently ranked number one in the English-speaking world as having the highest estimation of the comedic potential of the word commissary. Indeed. Prairie Fire Kowalski. Hey, Sam. The VIG and MR crew. The VIG.
They used to call me that at TYT.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Good news. According to my USPS tracking number, your Kowalski shirts are out for delivery today. I encourage you to wear them while consuming vodka and pierogi to gain a spiritual connection to your Polish roots. Also, you better make sure that Brendan gets his KFFI shirt. He will. And did you ask your new crew member if they wanted a shirt? I did. Sam, I swear that if you didn't, I'm going to treat you as bad as Reagan has for at least a month. Left his poggers. Final I am of the week. Hey, guys. No, this is not. It's just that's their handle. I think your own is in the pocket of Big Blinkist. With all the books you need to read to live in his society, Blinkist is the only way to go. Left is best. Eric from Iowa. The day the Libertarian called into the show last week was the greatest day of his life. But for Sam, it was Tuesday. Captain Rick. What was the gin from Sunset Lake? Bar Hill? That stuff is so freaking good. Bar Hill is really good. Is that? I think that's what it is, right? The Vermont gin is that.
Wait. Sorry, what? I was sweating.
The gin.
I forget what the label was, but it was
I found
very
a place in Albany to get
pleasing.
that.
Yeah.
Dimmy Jor. Hey, Sam, I had a dream last night, and you were in it. Yikes, I think I'm listening to the show too much. Also, I've always wondered, your generation had or has some really crappy politics. But based on the way you talk about your past, you seem to have always have far better politics than your peers and to be far to the left of your generation. Why do you think that is? And were there any people that you were listening to or reading during the 80s, 90s, and aughts that helped inform your perspective during the dark ages of the American? That was it. I don't know if I mean, I think the people I just hung around with, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I think I was always a little bit more political than people, but my politics were not, super sophisticated in terms of theory ever, and they're still not. Even in college, we didn't have political science. We had government. That was the major. And it was much more sort of oriented towards policy and
I had that too, interestingly enough.
Yeah,
I was government law.
I don't know. I mean, I probably was influenced on some level by my father, but his politics are pretty mainstream liberal. Although that I think back in the '60s he had some of his crew were pretty radical. There was like some of the lawyers they hung out with have represented like Black Panthers on the West Coast, and there was an interesting mix of crew of people. Maybe I got some of that there. I'm not sure.
That sounds right.
All right, what should we talk about? Tucker Carlson?
Yes, that is the one that you sent, Brendan, the gin. Bar Hill, yes.
Oh, there
Sorry.
you go. So, am I mistaken? Did Tucker Carlson ever have multiple times where he would put up about the anti-white agenda? In fact, we have talked about Tucker Carlson in this way. Here, let's put this clip up.
Yeah. This was just like a week or so ago.
Yeah, this is just the most recent one. Put that one up, Brendan. This is Tucker Carlson, his anti-white mania. And in fact, when we were talking about this, I think we covered this clip when he did this. We mentioned the Hutus. Here's Tucker Carlson. Maybe just having noticed something about his own coverage, decided to do a little projection.
Like puppies, all TV networks are cute when they're little. The problem is you never know what they're going to grow up to become. So what is that MSNBC now? Well, effectively, it's the Hutu radio network, ginning up race fear to mobilize the militias. Here's the channel's new lead anchor screaming once again about those diabolical white people.
And so here we are again, with conservatism, at least among a certain cohort of white guys, now rooting itself in the idea that even during a pandemic, these screaming men and women have the God-given right to get their roots done and order a steak at the restaurant and hit the golf course and the bar, and that those rights, which they claim were conferred upon them by God, require a disproportionately black and brown labor force to return to work, get back on the wheel, and risk death in order to serve them and return them to their comfortable lives.
Broadcasting that crap 24 hours a day. Shades of Kilgalli 94. We regret to inform you that tomorrow we'll be killed with their families.
Pause it for 1 second. Okay. First of all, the clip was from a year ago. And she's talking about COVID.
She's talking about essential workers like black and brown people who are disproportionately minimum wage workers going back to work when there aren't safety precautions.
Yes.
Very reasonable.
And also, and the commensurate rises in deaths and in COVID infections during that time. That's the best example they could have. Don't they have a big staff there?
But, I mean, it was soiled from the outset with a really weird line by his writing crew. That like puppies, that TV networks are like
no,
puppies.
You know why he's got to do that? Because he used to work on MSNBC. He was on MSNBC in the aughts.
No, I understand what the motive is, but like puppies, networks are cute at their outset and grow. I mean, I don't know, man. Come up with something a little better.
They wanted to just sort of come up with some type of way of saying, like, I know I used to work there, but back then it was good. We had Pat Buchanan on, And he really, really hated a lot of people.
Yes, dogs are only good when they're little, and then they're evil when they grow up.
Apparently, in that first clip that we have the picture of, he had said that this country was turning into Rwanda. He is the one who is fomenting and referencing race war over and over again. It really is stunning.
But now it's MSNBC because he needs to project what he's doing.
Well, look, you can't have a race war unless multiple people show up. So you got to have somebody who's attacking for you to justify why there's
because
a race war.
there's two sides in a war,
Exactly.
right? And then, yeah.
Even if you have to straw man the other side.
Yes, but because there is one side that's forming militias and getting angry and marching on places and killing people and breaking things. But that was a peaceful protest, I guess.
Well, at least, listen, we can talk about Tucker Carlson at, what is he, at 9 p.m. on Fox every night, constantly implying that there's a race war. But at least his other hosts on that channel are not trying to foment some type of racial resentment, like saying something like, I don't know, your kids are being indoctrinated, your white kids are being indoctrinated.
Yeah, they're doing counter programming, right? Yeah. Tucker's got his race war niche. They're going to be more reasonable.
I'm sure at 10 p.m. Laura Ingraham is not talking wildly about making up things to sort of, scare white people.
And 10 p.m., it's dark out. It's very scary.
Now, for almost 250 years, our economy has been breathing quite well, Joe. It thrived and it grew into a juggernaut by recognizing a basic principle, that the economic system should reward people for hard work. When you kill that incentive to work, to show up every day, to create, you kill the very thing that drove the prosperity that we enjoy today.
Can you pause it for just 1 second? Should we just abolish passive income then? Like, if it's supposed to be hard work?
Listen, the bottom line is we should be abolishing the ability to pass money down to your heirs, because right there, what better example of what she's talking about? If the idea that you're giving somebody $140 a month for food disincentivizes them to create things at work. This is very creative stuff. A lot of these jobs are so fulfilling. But if $140, can you imagine what $1.4 million does to someone's creativity?
I mean, she sounds like she just endorsed an 100% estate tax.
There's actually a thread that went viral today about this guy saying, I took acid and then started getting honest with myself about money. And it's all this this struggle for meaning in a life where his mom gave him $100,000 to just start out. And he's like, well, this is weird, 'cause we thought we had to work for a living. It completely messed him up.
And, I mean, this is, and yes, passive income is horrible. How would you feel inspired to go work if your stocks were just simply rising every year? We need to, capital gains taxes needs to be at 95%. I think that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to be in the game, but if you actually get cash from that, those passive investments, it's going to stifle creativity. But that seems to be a weird argument, but it gets weirder, ladies and gentlemen.
That we enjoy today. The left has always resented middle-class workers living the American dream. They do things like drive pickup trucks, they own guns, they have big families. They're proudly patriotic. So they intend to drive up the cost of everything we buy and everywhere we travel, and then expect you to thank them for it. After all, they know how to spend your money better than you do. The coming tax avalanche on businesses will simply mean that those businesses are going to pass along their higher operating costs to consumers. It's already happening.
Pause it.
When we're effectively getting taxed on...
Anybody in business knows that taxes are not operating costs. They're just they're fixed costs, not a function of operating. Sales taxes are passed through, but corporate taxes, no. And the way that you can avoid corporate taxes, incidentally, is by reinvesting in your business. That money is tax-free. It's spent on a business expense. So,
did prices go down when we had those big tax breaks for corporations under Trump?
They oddly did not. That is very strange. One would imagine that such tax cuts like that would create some type of deflationary pressures because pricing and taxes is so one-to-one. It's very strange.
When we're effectively getting taxed on everything, a child care tax credit, that's not going to make much of a difference. And speaking of the children,
nice try.
Universal pre-K is also in the bill. I'm all for educating our youth, but really educating them, not brainwashing toddlers with racist drivel.
Oh, there
you
we
think
go.
that can't happen in preschool? Guess again. Randy Weingarten's union has an anti-racist reading list that includes picture books for 4-year-olds. Here's what they want your kids learning. The cops shot him because he was black. Cops stick up for each other, and they don't like black men. We can't always count on cops to do what's right. The good news is that Republicans, even the fools who support the phony infrastructure bill, are united against this wild expansion of government spending and controls. The last time Republicans were this united against a Democrat cram-down was back in 2009 against Obamacare. And of course, we all remember what happened. They went on to flip Congress in 2010 midterms as a result. And the Democrats already seem to know that that day's coming, which is why they're rushing right now to get it all through. Because it may be their last chance in a while, at least.
I mean, Republicans never rush to get anything through. Republicans never rush to get anything. They passed legislation when they were in power, and now Democrats are trying to do it. Also, very telling how she's responding to universal pre-K.
Right. It's shocking. Like
Randy Weingarten, she brings up the proposal. She's talking about taxation for the entire segment, and then when it gets to that, you know how salient that kind of idea is going to be and how it's going to resonate with people because she can't argue anything. She has to pick a random
Same with the
picture
child
book.
tax care, tax credit. Like they're trying to figure out how do they convince people that universal pre-K is going to be bad. And they cannot, really, it's basically they're just going to lean on this idea of like somehow your kids are going to be indoctrinated by black people, essentially, is really the argument that she's making.
And then it's inevitable that Republicans will win, but like that was because they waged an effective campaign on Obamacare, which was not as substantial and simple as it should be. They're not going to be able to do that with.
They might
win the midterms, but it's not going to be the same thing like government takeover of healthcare, and it's already so convoluted and people don't understand it. No, if there's universal pre-K that's passed, that's going to be felt by people, and it's simple and it's easy.
I think I will say this. I do think the Democrats are feeling that they need to poop now or get off the bidet, as it were.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Well, no, the idea is they need to get this done because there's a very good chance that they're going to lose their majorities. I mean, frankly, it could happen any day with the age of folks in the Senate.
Why are they pooping onto the bidet?
Well, I'm talking about the bidet attachment on your toilet. That's what I'm talking about. I wasn't going to drop a product name in there, but everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Okay, cool.
Anyways, the point is that yes, I think that's true. I think they are rushing us through, and I think it is not going to be necessarily as effective to run against this as it was for Obamacare, because in part, Obamacare didn't roll out for 4 years after it was passed. And, to the extent that it helped, it certainly helped people on Medicaid, to the extent that it helped and provided some patient protections for everybody, the scare tactics would have been quite obvious that it wasn't effective had it rolled out quicker. And that's why the Republicans never replaced it. They never replaced it. They had majorities for 2 years and they couldn't replace it because they didn't have anything to replace it with. And now, oddly enough, the ACA has its highest enrollment in its history, in part because of a lot of these subsidies that have come, extra subsidies that have come through the last COVID Relief Act. And so, the bottom line is they're just going to keep pounding on the race stuff. And this is a perfect example of it. They're going to say like, well, corporations are getting taxed. And so your $300 a month is not going to be helpful to you. Of course it is. And yes, you might like the fact that you don't have to pay for decent pre-K, but understand they're going to be learning that black people have different experiences than you do.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
I really don't. I don't think it's effective what they're doing.
I think it is really narrowly tailored to their specific audience.
And I'm not saying that Republicans won't have gains in the midterms, maybe because of this critical race theory, like mobilize yourself on the grassroots and then, from the school board to the state house to the representative but it'll trickle up in their elections perhaps. But in terms of targeting universal pre-K and the child tax credit, I don't see that working.
Let's check in on Newsmax for a minute, who apparently don't have a full grasp on what Marxism is about.
Shocker.
Weird.
Yeah.
The place that I usually go for my Marx.
Yeah,
Right.
It's very odd. But here is...
Marxism is whatever they want it to mean.
Newsmarks. That's going to be my new
That's
channel.
what OAN calls them, to shit talk.
Here is Grant Stinchfield talking about the Marxists at Raytheon.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. We continue our series tonight
the
on a
name.
military gone woke. What you may not know is this massive social experiment that is destroying our ability to fight and win now
Pause it for 1 second. Wait a second. Is this from decades ago when we integrated the military?
Yeah, they did a critical race theory right before they went to Afghanistan.
I think we should don't ask and don't tell about race in the military.
That's right. Honestly, like we go through this all the time. This is probably also like the least amount of actual, like of all the times that we've seen this in American history, there's probably less actual social experimentation and engineering happening in the military now than we've seen in decades, right? Like, I mean, we did basically allow for, we ended Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We ended the ban on transgender military personnel. We allowed women in the military to fight as well. We integrated the military on racial lines quite successfely.
Yeah, you might say that like having a segregated and homophobic military was actually the experimentation, and it failed miserably.
And now there is really nothing more going on except for, wait a second, what's Raytheon, this massive military?
If it is segregated, it's on class lines. But
indeed, here we go.
Experiment that is destroying our ability to fight and win now extends to military contractors as well. The Pentagon is demanding that private enterprise, the companies that build our weapons and defense systems, engage in this indoctrination that claims everything about America is somehow racist. Exposing this woke philosophy is our goal all this week, and of course beyond. Our friend
And of course, every single day that we're on the air.
giant defense contractor Raytheon for forming special, quote, camps that employees are required to attend. Of course, the course instruction has nothing to do with military readiness. Instead, they learn about woke philosophy amounting to Marxist-style re-education camps that the more boxes you check, right, minority, gay, maybe even a woman, well, the more those boxes, the more important you are. Of course, the big loser in all of this is the Christian white male. They rank at the bottom.
Yes. I thought Obama. I thought Obama already did those Marxist camps. Like that was.
This is Raytheon doing it, and it's not going to be about the trust. The trust camps and the trust falls are all going to be secret ways of inserting wokeness into you.
The trust drone strikes.
Right, and the.
What do we need military readiness for? Like to invade Cuba?
Well,
probably.
Listen, if Raytheon is not right on the ball, they're not going to be able to turn out those like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of missiles and whatnot.
They need to be ready to do the non-binary Bay of Pigs.
Yeah, Boeing just needs to figure out a way to blame all their problems on wokeness somehow.
Exactly.
There's a coexist sticker on the bombs that they're dropping. In
Yes. These bombs won't fall on brown people's heads. They're not going to be effective at all then.
These bombs are gender neutral.
I mean, this is the military is doing this because they're trying to like protect themselves from a serious personnel issue with the people that serve in it, which is like a growing awareness about this country's history that needs addressing.
Again, gotta rename that show from Stinchfield.
Stenchfield, I think, is really the one I would go for.
He does seem stinky.
Do we? Should we play this clip of Tucker?
Well, let's play this time photo. Show some clips of this time photo shoot first, and then we can, show the old.
Oh my
Tucker
God!
clip.
Right.
So Tucker apparently did this big piece in Time magazine. He was asked, incidentally, if he got vaccinated, and he refuses to answer. He thinks it's an incredibly personal, incredibly personal question to ask.
He does segment after segment on Hunter Biden's like personal messages and photos and laptops.
That's because Hunter Biden is a public person, and Tucker is a. Oh. Anyways, it's literally his response to every journalist who asks him if you've been vaccinated is like, what's your favorite sex position and when did you last do it? That's his retort.
Yeah.
Yes, I would. But let's see some of these pictures of him in this Time photo shoot. There's Tucker wearing his.
You'll notice now. My dad has a wood shop in the basement. Not a whole lot of sawdust on the floor.
Yeah, let's go in. That is a super clean basement. And I'll tell you one thing that you don't necessarily want to do is be working right next to your electrical box.
Birkenstocks, right? Those are the easiest shoes to trip on, just falling right into a saw.
Let's go in. Let's see what he's got for his.
He's got a flannel, Sam. That's all you need to know.
Let's go. I want to see the stains he's got up in the right-hand corner. Let's see what he's using there.
There, the yellow.
Keep coming in. Keep coming in. That's as far as you can go in. Yeah, that is.
Ooh.
All right. Fair enough. That's good.
How does this make you feel, Sam, that you share an interest with
interesting
this man?
that all the labels are pointed
shot.
right towards the camera.
Yeah.
I mean,
that is not a shop that is getting much use. I can tell you that. Like, where's his dust collector with all that cleanliness in there? But let's go. Let's see what else he's got going. This is
the segment made
you know
for
what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ladder right in the middle of the wood shop, right in the middle where I'm working.
Oh, there's him with some.
Oh, this is his main outfit. I get it.
He's taking a call. I saw him in person screaming on the phone one time at a debate.
Yeah, there you go. Human skull. It's got ships in there. It's very Maine-y there.
Yeah. Well, of course he's got deer antler chandelier. He's got to perform his masculinity in every stereotypical way.
And
It's
look
like
at
Gaston,
those
but
chairs
he's
he has there. They're all like some seal. They're all like those are like chairs he got from Trinity, I think.
Oh God, yeah.
They're all Trinity school chairs. Unbelievable.
I'm sure they're just like Reagan farted in
Now,
them
do we
one
have
time.
wait, we have one more picture? There it is.
It's like,
So he just steps right out.
yeah, there we go.
Is this his studio up in Maine? That's nice. Okay. And yes, of course, it's chandelier of antlers. What kind of chandelier would you have up in Maine? There's only antlers.
The thing about that is like he obviously didn't kill all those elk or whatever the antlers came from himself. You just purchase like that really bugs me. Like rich sort of like rant. Like you see that buy a whole bunch of antlers from someplace and like.
If I had the time, I would have.
Yeah, exactly.
But didn't have the time. Could have, would have, didn't have the time. Is this his? Let's hear his. Now, remember, what Tucker's trying to do is take the mantle from Bill O'Reilly, who grew up in middle-class Long Island, went to Harvard University, and continued to attempt to be an everyman. Tucker, it's a little bit trickier for him. He went to private school, went to Trinity, and then also, is an heir to the Swanson food fortune. Has multiple homes, has been in TV for over 25 years now or so.
He had to really struggle with some woke kindergarten teachers, though.
Yes, I'm sure. Yes, first grader teacher, I think it was.
Please.
That really almost damaged him. Here is a clip from C-SPAN. This is from a couple. When is this from?
It's from like maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, where he's talking about Bill O'Reilly's faux everyman thing.
Yes. Now, understand, at this time, Tucker Carlson worked on CNN, if I'm not mistaken, and I think he was the host of Crossfire. Go ahead.
Another quote from your book. Bill O'Reilly's success is built on the perception that he really is who he claims to be. If he ever gets caught out of character, it's over.
That's right. I say before that, Bill O'Reilly's really talented. He's more talented than I am. He's got a lot more viewers than I do. He's a better communicator than I am. But I think there's kind of a deep phoniness at the center of his shtick. And again, as I say, the shtick is sort of built on this perception that he is the character he plays. He is every man, this kind of, he's not right-wing, he's a populist. This kind of Irish Catholic populist fighting for you against the powers that be. And that's great as a shtick, but I'm just saying the moment that it's revealed not to be true, it's over. The moment he gets caught, slapping a flight attendant on the Concorde for not bringing his champagne fast enough, or barking at, one of his subordinates to take the, brown M&Ms out of my bowl and get me a bottle of Evian, or something like that. The second that makes page 6, it's over, right? Because the whole thing is predicated on the fact that he is who he says he is. And just nobody is that person, especially not someone who makes $1 million, or many millions a year, as he does.
Now, what's fascinating about this is Tucker, if that clip is 20 years old, Tucker goes on and begins to have a moment where he realizes, you know what? I was wrong. He's not that guy, but there's no exposing him. There is no moment where the slapping, if he slaps the stewardess because his champagne's not there, his audience is going to go like, how come she didn't bring the champagne properly?
Yeah.
And on that day, when Tucker had that realization, was when he said, I can do this. Because Bill O'Reilly might have been more talented than I. But 20 years later, I'm as talented as he is. And I can really pull it off. So no more starched shirts. No more bow ties.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to this is what I'll do. I am actually going to do the opposite. I'm going to project on my nightly show that I'm buttoned up and that what I'm really hiding is a guy who's more comfortable in flannel and in a wood shop, an old wood shop.
The new Confederate workshop.
The new Confederate wood shop where I'm working on like, all the technology where you would like do lynchings and things like that.
Wooden crosses.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's basically his scam now. I mean, and he bought it. I mean, he enjoys Maine. Maine is great. And he's up there and he is like he's that guy now.
You should challenge Tucker to a carpentry off.
I'll do a carpentry off. We'll go mall to mall on this too. I'll do that. See this guy with the router.
Router with Crowder.
Yeah, we'll do a dust extraction off. Freedom phone? I can't. Yeah? Should we do it? All right, let's see it. I've seen this ad.
Name one time in history
where the people who banned books, media, and opinions were the good guys. Hi, I'm Eric. I'm the world's youngest Bitcoin millionaire. I made it in Silicon Valley, and I've accomplished a lot in my life already. But now, I'm leaving big tech to fight for free speech, because the big tech overlords are violating your privacy, censoring your speech, and I think that's so wrong. That's why I created the Freedom Phone and its uncensorable app store. Everyone is complaining about big tech censorship, but no one is doing anything about it. They say, build your own phone. So I did. Freedom Phone truly is the best phone in the world. It does everything your current phone does, except censor you and spy on you. With the Freedom Phone, your freedom of speech is all.
How does your phone censor you?
Autocorrect.
Well, like what apps are you going to go on? Like you're not going to, it doesn't have access to Twitter or YouTube or what? Like I don't
It's
understand.
just like it doesn't have the Apple App Store, which doesn't carry all those right wing.
Well, it has an app store that's going to have not many apps in it.
Right.
We have Gab, although that has a term of service too, right? I mean, they all censor people.
So it just means no apps are going to be banned, which means that phone is going to have viruses on it, in a second.
Oh, this should be interesting. Keep playing. I may actually get one of these just to check it
Well, I
out.
just want to say, he says he made his own phone, but
Or malware.
Really, what he did is source one from China, from like one of those big websites, and
of course,
yeah,
Yeah, right. He
Of course.
He wasn't in the lab with a drill and a pad, like making a phone to himself.
Here we go.
Our #1 priority. That's why we built our own app store that is completely uncensored. If an app you love,
Patriot app. It's the Patriot App Store.
Oh, this is never meant to actually.
I'll tell you
be
something.
executed, is
This
it?
guy, I have so much admiration for him. He is going to make so much money selling to people who are so bummed out that they own this phone.
Actually, the original phone from China is about 119, but it's marked up about $500.
yeah.
119 bucks, and then you set up an app store that has like, I mean, it's within a moment, it's going to be impossible to download an app that isn't like, they're going to have to censor, right, the apps, because there's going to be apps that are going to be viruses. Now they'll have a term of service, which they'll knock some out.
Yeah, they also claim that they don't use the chip that is exploitable, that from the company that they source for, but they won't clarify which chip they actually do use. So
Interesting.
We'll see about that.
This guy, I couldn't. This is like a Trumpy bear.
And
this
that's
is
so wrong. People are censoring you, and that's
so wrong.
So wrong.
I hope to God there's a Trump built-in ring tone or something. But is there more to this? Let's watch this. It's fantastic.
That's why we built our own app store that is completely uncensored. If an app you love has been banned from the mainstream app stores, you can still download it on ours, because we don't ban apps, period. And we've developed the first operating system based on your free speech.
What?
There's no app tracking.
For 1 second, pause it. If the intelligence agencies in the U.S. were as woke as the right thinks they are, this would be like a wonderful experiment to get all these right-wing extremist data, which it's not the reality. But
I wouldn't put that past as a possible reality. Like, this is a fishing expedition for this sort of thing.
I mean, the idea, like, this is going to be the way that we're going to get everyone from who stormed the Capitol.
Yeah.
We'll get Jack Posobiec and Candace Owens to tweet it out, say they're partners with it.
Oh
Right.
my God! Right, exactly.
Keep going.
No keyboard tracking and no location tracking, because I believe in your security. How do we ensure you're being protected? Say hello to Trust. Trust is our privacy guard. It's designed to warn you whenever an app or a website is tracking you.
Pause
and gives
for 1 second. Don't we have that on the Apple iPhone? Doesn't it say, like, do you want this app to be able to track you only when using the app or all the time or something like that?
I'm sure it's still
the
doing some
SDK
sort of
packets. Is that what they put in there? And why? But you can trust it. You know why? There's a logo.
I think the only way to actually do this would be to do it statutorily.
But let's check
no,
it out.
but it's all in one product, Matt. And if you just buy it.
If an app or a website is tracking you and gives you the option to stop it. Your data, your rules. That's our motto. The Freedom Phone is comparable to the best smartphones on the market. It has an edge-to-edge screen, a super fast processor, and multiple cameras. And your SIM card transfers into the Freedom Phone seamlessly. Big tech companies hold a monopoly on public communication and the dissemination of information, and they are abusing that power. Nobody elected Mark or Jack to be the arbiters of truth in America, yet they still thought it was okay to ban a sitting president from their platforms. If they censor a president, they will censor anyone. Imagine if Mark Zuckerberg censored MLK or Abraham Lincoln. The course of history would have been altered forever. Out of all the constitutional amendments, there's a reason why the founding fathers made the right to free speech the very first. I believe you have a voice that deserves to be heard without being censored. Protect yourself from big tech censorship. Let your voice be heard. Live free with the Freedom Phone.
I'm so proud of that guy.
I'm pretty sure a lot of like Southern newspapers weren't exactly reproducing Lincoln's words.
But MLK had free reign.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, so much freedom.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine if they had censored him.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the liberal press. That's the liberal left fake news media. So of course you couldn't trust what they were saying about MLK.
No. I mean, it would have been just, you never know what would have happened.
I also just admire his commitment to wearing a half-zip sweatshirt with no shirt underneath.
The outfit is something. Let's just, I mean, how many days, how many weeks is it going to be before we talk about this again, where the guy is like in jail or he's sued or he's like, or the company turns out to like not exist? I mean, there's a reason why the phone is blank.
Yes.
Check out this phone I'm selling right here. Hey, look at that. This is our operating system.
Trust us, our operating system is great.
This is our operating system. But we have logos. We have logos.
It definitely turns on.
This is the Majority Report phone, and there's a logo. Boom.
It's funny, the phone that doesn't spy on you is one that doesn't turn on.
Exactly.
Right. Well, yeah, it can't spy on you if it doesn't work.
The key is you don't power it up. Wow, that's pretty good. All right, let's take, sorry, only have time for one more phone call. Oh, we got a lot of people hanging. What do? Take the cap off of it? Oh my gosh. All right, here we go. Calling from a 614 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, am I on?
Yes, you are.
Hello, Sam. Hello, Emma. Hello, Matt. Brandon. Great job on the show. My name's Harry. I'm calling from Columbus, Ohio.
Carrie from Columbus, Ohio. Where are you running out of the building now?
Are you
or what? What are you doing?
Are you in an indoor?
I'm sneaking with my bosses so that they don't know I'm on a radio call right now.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, it's their time, but, you know, I'm the working class, so I deserve,
Dude,
you know, some
you know what
entertainment.
you need? You need the Freedom Phone. Because your bosses are trying to censor you from calling into a radio program. So if you had the Freedom Phone, you don't have to worry about that. It puts a cone of freedom around you. A freedom cone, if you will.
This isn't the point of my call, but I will say that I personally am a mobile phone software developer. I read about the Freedom Phone this morning, and I will say to anybody ever, do not download this phone, or do not buy this phone. It is definitely Chinese spyware for sure. Do not buy it. Do not pass go. Do not have any freedom on your phone. Stay in the safety of no freedom, security, anything. Okay. I want to get to my point though, real quick.
Okay.
I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and I don't know if you caught this yesterday. My U.S. House Representative Joyce Beatty, she was arrested for protesting for voting rights.
I did see that.
Now, the voting rights thing, the protest, that's great. She's awesome. She, was tear gassed last year during a Black Lives Matter protest as well. So she's got a great history. But you start off the show with Sherrod Brown, and we all know Sherrod Brown's great, but there's the other Ohio Senator, Rob Portman. He's retiring, and I wanted to roast the right side of this election, but I think the left side just has nothing to show for. I mean, who do we have running in this race? Tim Ryan, the guy who screams about bipartisanship, like on the House floor. That's who we have. With Joyce Beatty, she's already said she's not running. I don't know why, when she could be, an easy nominee for the Democratic Party. I don't know if she doesn't want to clear the space for a progressive to take over. Maybe that's part of it. But yeah, I just want to know what you guys think about this Ohio race from the left's perspective. Have they just completely thrown in the towel to Trumpers? That's it. That's all my call. Thanks. Thanks for the great show,
Appreciate
guys.
the call. Well, I'll answer. First off, Beatty's older. A, and B. I mean, look, I don't know if Ryan can win that seat, but I think the idea is that Sherrod Brown has threaded the needle in Ohio. Ohio is trending away, it seems to me, from the Democrats. I'm not a huge fan of Ryan's here, but if he has the ability to turn that seat blue, that is a good thing.
Yeah.
Will he be another one of these votes that will be problematic? Maybe. But frankly, if there's an opportunity to hold the Senate and put more judges in, and the Democrats don't pass a single piece of legislation after this, or you have a situation where, like, you have 51, Democrats, maybe then you start to look at like filibuster reform, right? Because all you need is, well, I guess at that point if you have a tie at that point, you bring in the VP. I mean, there's an opportunity maybe for filibuster reform if you add one or two more Democrats. So I don't really know Ohio politics enough to know, but I would imagine there's just not a lot of opportunity for progressives to build in that state right now. I don't know.
That's my sense too, but
We'll see with that Nina Turner primary coming up in
Yes.
August.
Unfortunately,
it's
a dead
going to be.
yeah, like that. I mean, they poured $500,000 in negative ads. The pro-Israel lobby against Nina, and then it's closed the gap. So
when is that?
August 3rd.
I mean, I gotta think her supporters are going to be more motivated.
Well, AOC is going to rally with her, so hopefully that brings some press to it.
Let's watch this clip in Traverse City, Michigan. This is going to be a little bit disturbing because my kids are headed out there next week.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So let's watch this. And this is a carnival.
But it's still going up quite high.
Oh, and so now the idea is that they're trying to balance it and hold it down.
Yeah, and they do a decent job at it. I mean,
and I see what's going on there.
This is why I'm just so
play it at the front
anti-theme
again,
park.
Brendan.
Ugh.
Just so you can see how much it's bucking. Like, if it kept going, it was going to topple over.
I mean, I just, like, for the life of me, I
Wow.
I don't know how you trust these, like, structures. I don't know how.
There's a Texas Monthly article on the Schlitterbahn, a famous water slide park in Kansas City, about just how dangerous and, like, just it's not regulated. Like,
right.
I mean, I'm a fan of. Growing up, I loved Valley Fair in Minnesota and Busch Gardens and that stuff. But like, especially these lower capitalized ones, lower insured ones, they're terrifying.
Yeah. You got to be careful.
But if you just don't regulate them, there will be an incentive.
To Yarenbrooke.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
for the rides to be the created
and
well.
and here's the thing. Even now, there's not a lot of accountability for this, right? But back in the day before there were phone cameras, this happens. Nobody knows about it. And boom, there is no opportunity. It's not like they put a sign up like, hey, just want to let you know as you come in today, last week we had a little mishap. Like there's a water park upstate, small one. And just by chance.
Splashdown?
Just by chance. No, but just by
I've been to that one, though.
chance, I was Googling around and came upon like, some dude like broke every bone in his body going down this slide that I had been on. And I was like, hey, like, you don't hear about it. There's no way to hear about it. There's no sign. There's no indication. Nothing.
No, it's been 2 weeks since the last fatality. So
yeah, exactly. None of that.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe it's also because that seemed like it was a mobile.
Yeah, absolutely was a traveling thing. We'll just pack up, go to the next city.
Exactly.
And,
Right,
try to
and
tie it
just
down better next time.
Park it here. Here we go. But I mean, still, it's just, I don't know.
All right, folks. Sorry, that is all our time for the phone call portion of our program. Sorry about that. Maybe we should just one day do, I don't know. We'll see. Just all phone calls. That's it, period. But let's go to the IMs. There's a great documentary called Class Action Park about a particularly dangerous theme park that had numerous incidents in the 80s. All right. Future reactionary. The most tedious part of printing out the show is arranging them from back to front so that when I run my thumb down the corner, it plays forward. Also connecting and syncing the audio. Worth it. Sackland, or Sicklindle. Brendan et al. Had lunch with one of the heads of the largest nonprofit orgs assessing insurance policy. With all the data, he or she wouldn't even give me a personal assessment of the best policy direction for the U.S. out of fear of losing nonprofit org status by making a partisan prognostication. Interesting. Right hand, left hand, or right-handed lefty. I think Alacrity needs to get a hello tushy and move on from the libertarian word of the day toilet paper he's been using. This guy's a dork. Teachers Lauren. Brent, the history teacher, should chill. Read Lies My Teacher Told Me by James Lowen and tell his students the truth without fear. Tim Pools, economics researcher. Colleges said minimum wage increases crime among 15 to 24-year-olds, literally making your point about how it only affects teen employment. Teens aren't flipping burgers, so they smoke weed. What an insight.
Yeah.
Was the water park upside the water slide world? I'm really crazy about their wild slides. No. Transit radio. Brendan is so adorbs. He's got the key to my heart. Oh, that's very sweet.
Oh, there you go.
Fierce Deity. Marxist at Raytheon. New band name. I call it. Super excited for the new Majority Report producer, Brett Weinstein. Eye roll. Wages being raised increase crime because criminals can afford to do more crimes. Duh. That's a joke. Seder, half-chewed steak. Science Direct is not a research entity. They're a publisher. Caller may have been citing Google. Might as well have been citing Google. Arcadium. From the home of the Arkansas black twig apple, king of all apples, y'all won't believe how bad Delta COVID is down here. Our hospitalizations in Arkansas are exponential. We will be out of ICU beds in a couple of weeks, and school starts in 4 weeks. Arkansas has a GOP supermajority, and the legislature has banned vaccine mandates, mask mandates, and the ability of schools and municipalities to limit capacity. We're also seeing breakthrough infections among the fully vaccinated. The transmittability of the Delta is many times the original COVID. It is everywhere in the Ozarks. We will create a vaccine-evasive Ozark variant soon. Sorry, everyone. Oy. Funky Town Tony. Sam, may I get a shofar for my 33rd lap around the sun? Thanks, as always, for a great show. Left is best. Here you are. Happy birthday. All right, 5 more IMs, and then we're out of here. Morbid Leaf. Is Bart the sound tech from TYT?
No.
No.
But love Bart.
Christo, Bro Flamingo, our generation learned good politics from The Clash. That's true. Pajama Boy. Sam, are you being stingy about air conditioning? Emma should file a work complaint with HR.
Well, Brendan, when we lose him, it's going to be sad because Brendan appreciates the air conditioning too. He comes in and he turns it on before I get here.
I'm in favor of it. Sammy Key, can Brendan give me a meta bye-bye? Bye. Yeah, you got to do it into the mic. It's just picking up on that.
Bye-bye.
Mind Pillow, you said Dorsey does your video titles, but does he also do the thumbnails? I keep getting suggested Yaron Brook debate video, and the typo in the thumbnail keeps driving me nuts. Oh, yeah, I think he misspelled challenge. What are you going to do? And the final IM of the day. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Oh, of the week. Final IM of the week. Can you imagine, from Bullprog, can you imagine if big tech had censored JFK? I think that's the joke.
Yeah.
All right, folks. See you on Monday.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught.